Ready? Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals Public Review Session for August 24th, 2015. We'll begin with the special order calendar. Decision items. Item number 1, 12293BZ, 895 Broadway, Manhattan.
Okay, they provided proofs on the status of the violations, including an LPC certificate of correction, so I didn't have any other issues. Okay.
Continued hearing items. Item number 2, 120766BZ, 305 Washington Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay, this one, I didn't see a submission, but there may have been a very late submission. Like,
I just saw it today.
It wasn't a late submission. I think it was only a hard copy.
okay,
It was not up, it
It wasn't
wasn't
digital.
uploaded into
So, yeah,
SharePoint.
okay,
we
so,
looked at it today.
okay, so
But it had been
that's hard.
submitted like August 10th or something.
Oh,
August.
really? Okay. So, anybody want to comment on what it said? Because I didn't see it.
Well, they showed that they had put in the landscaping.
No email
sort of the
version.
garden area in the front, and they provided photos. I'd like to see those of the area. And they have planters, I guess, on the sidewalk as well, by the trees.
They planted the
Okay.
trees and they
Yeah.
added flowers and
Okay, so, but,
landscaping.
and that's what we asked for?
Right, we had asked for it. And then they submitted a plan showing which portion is sprinklered.
In the basement.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
And then I think the only other question we had was they couldn't get their C of O because of all the open applications on the residential portion of the building. So if they've made any progress on that front.
okay, we'd like to see that, okay. Okay,
But otherwise, I think they answered everything we'd asked for.
all
Yeah.
right, so other than the open application thing, we might be able to, okay.
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks. All right, move on.
Item number 3, 8493BZ, 671, 677 Timpson Place, the Bronx.
Okay, I thought they were very responsive to our request. My only comment is that they submitted electronic photos to show that the signs had been removed and things like that, and I absolutely couldn't see anything, that they were just blurry. So,
They're kind
which
of
is
blurry.
super blurry, so you can't see if there is a sign or not a sign because it's just sort of this blending of colors. So if they could bring legible ones to the hearing and resubmit, that would be good.
And also, I had asked for photos of the rear of the building
Yes.
where it abuts the residential, and they actually gave us photos of the adjacent site to the side.
Oh,
which
is that what-
another
Couldn't see what they
industrial
were.
site. So I wanted photos
Oh.
of the rear.
But they had photos of the rear, but that was not the rear of this building.
No, it was actually the site to the side.
Oh.
It wasn't to the rear.
Okay.
On the actual lot.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And I had asked them to discuss the relationship with the site across the street, and they spent a lot of the narrative talking about how this site complies with M1-1 regulations. One of the regulations is that all of the activity occurs indoors, and that's not so. So they really need to take that out of the statement, and they need to address the issue, because they also talk about how the site across the street is legally, I believe, a C8, and so it's operating as of right, but still there's a lot of cross-site traffic with forklift that's going right across the street, back and forth, all along the sidewalk. So the activities of the M1-1 site are not contained within the building. So they really need to talk about that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Item number 4, 15603BZ, 13535 Northern Boulevard, Queens.
Also, read the next one, it's a companion case. to
Oh,
the
I'm
next.
sorry. Item number 5, 12715BZ, 13535 Northern Boulevard, Queens.
Okay.
Read these together tomorrow.
Sorry, 1 second. Scrolling. Okay, just in general, I'm noting I'm still having issues with the heights that are different everywhere in the materials. I note that none of the proposed heights that are shown on the statement of facts match the chart on the drawings. And then the sections used NAVD 88, but with different numbers. And the reason that we care about this is not just to be nitty and, let's figure it like that, but it's because we will write in the resolution an approved height. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what to write in the resolution.
Right, they have on the plans that the FAA approved height is 210 feet, and then they say everything is in NAVD 88. But the FAA approval is in above mean sea level.
Right.
So, yeah, I had the same, they're not being consistent.
Yeah, and, I wrote down on the chart on BSA 001, that's the drawing, and in the tech memo, it says that they're increasing the height from 164.11 to 176.6 to the roof, and 174.11 to 189.2 to the bulkhead. In the statement of facts and the PowerPoint, it says they're increasing it from 164.11 to 175.6 to the roof, which is a foot different, and 174.11 to 190 feet to the top of the bulkhead, also a foot different, measured above curb. So that's curb elevation, above curb. And so, help. Then also, we did ask at the hearing that the FAA required mitigation equipment, there's lighting, it's supposed to be on a pole of some kind, be shown and dimensioned on the elevations, and it wasn't done. And then with respect to the FAA height limits, there a question about the height of a construction crane, which is significantly higher than the building and stays up for many months, or at least many weeks, depending on the construction. I think in this case it would be many months. I'm trying to understand, because it was close to the FAA limits, what happens during these temporary excesses. Any other comments?
Yeah, just getting back to sort of the coordination of the heights, I agree, but I also think that because the FAA and the Port Authority are basing their heights on a particular standard, that perhaps that's what we should be looking at for our resolution.
Above median sea level.
Right, so if they can go back and just make sure that it comports with what the FAA has said throughout, then I think that would work.
Right, but we don't have those either.
Exactly.
I think for clarity's sake, and I think we asked them to do this, was on the drawings, it's common enough, you see the elevation in two different datums. So you could say, this one is NAVD 88, and this one is above median sea level, then everybody knows, they all match.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also, I had asked them to look at how the handicapped access was from the parking garage into the building, because it didn't seem that there was any way from that handicapped space to get across to the elevators, and even so, there was sort of like a little step or something, and I was just wondering if they had tackled that, because it didn't seem plausible.
Okay.
That was the extent of my comment.
Anybody else?
Oh, just that I felt that they more or less addressed our issues in the
Yeah.
financials.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Good. Item number 6, 30103BZ, 1103 East 22nd Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, this was kind of a tricky one. They provided the TPPN 105 that was rescinded actually, I believe you need to recuse from this one.
Yeah, you were signed as the.
You signed the,
Sorry.
I was just going to say something.
Yeah,
Since
yeah.
we've been asked the vice chair to
so
do it.
before I keep going.
Yes, I'm going to recuse myself. Thank you very much for bringing that to my attention. Don't forget on that side.
Okay, we won't forget.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so So they provided a TPPN of 105 that was rescinded at the end of last year, 12/31/14. I just want to remind the applicant and then discuss. The court, despite the fact that there was a TPPN that allowed, strangely, total demolition of buildings that were subject to a special permit, the courts have recognized that what DOB calls an alteration actually has no bearing on BSA's findings. That's been long established, so if they call it an alteration, even if it's demolition and therefore a new building, and they continue to call it an alteration, that doesn't go to what the BSA calls it. So the court has also looked at, in prior cases, removal of a building's foundations with Department of Buildings consent due to the building's fragile condition. In one case, it was for termites. So, and the board accepted that as an extenuating circumstance that did not invalidate the special permit. So I have to go back and say, what about this case? Because I'm super uncomfortable with this idea that the foundations were removed without coming, because really, if you were paying attention, you would have come back to the BSA and said something up about our foundation. Is it okay if we do this? We don't want to invalidate the special permit. So I'm still troubled by this. I'm interested in others' responses. Anybody else have
I'll
a?
defer to Commissioner Montanez if she has something she wants to say.
Well, I kind of had sympathy for what they were saying because they did get DOB approval. And there was I forget which TPPN it was, where the DOB actually did address the fact that they were doing something so that people who got a special permit with the BSA didn't lose their rights to file and still retain the special permit. The fact that this is a historical case and that it seemed that the prior owner, besides not even coming here to file for the full demolition, changed the side yard, excavated the entire rear, and it was like a bad actor in a lot of different ways. And we're still left with a building which is an eyesore in the neighborhood, because it's a very nice neighborhood, and really they should be able to complete this in some fashion.
Okay. So, but then we have to struggle with this. It's a very strange TPPN. I don't understand how it lasted this long. Because,
I mean, I understand that, but I think that the special permit itself is kind of problematic in that it's actually asking people to retain portions of a site that may not be strong enough to withhold any future construction. And so I think that the Department of Buildings naturally just tried to find a workaround to allow a structure to be structurally sound in the future, while also not doing anything to disturb people's existing special permits. So I think the special permit is problematic, and the workaround that DOB has found around it is also problematic. It really should be addressed from the bottom up, the entire special permit situation. So I kind of can't fault this owner for kind of being caught in the middle of it.
Plus, in addition, the prior approved plans didn't really designate any foundations to be retained.
Didn't, but it's required to have shown it. I mean, one of the reasons that the permit is problematic is because it didn't start off problematic. The original permit was created to add a little bit of a something to a building. So it wasn't that you were keeping four studs and a joist, which is what it's come down to. It was that you were maintaining most of the building and adding a little addition at the rear.
Right, but specifics were never drafted into the special permit that would provide those guidelines. So it's really
problematic. Okay, more to follow, because I'm not sure where we can be on this legally, especially in light of that court case that was about the termite destruction, where it made a specific, because the board actually was concerned about the removal of the foundation, but in this case, that case, there was really an extenuating circumstance because, and it agreed that there was an extenuating circumstance, you know? So, more to follow.
Okay.
Okay.
You want me to- oh,
Yeah.
okay, you got it? Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. New cases, item number 7, 182 and 183, 95BZ, 2465, and 2473 Broadway, Manhattan.
Okay. I had a couple of questions. First is whether this is a legalization of the cellar and third floor expansion. I ask because there's a chart on the plans that show the third floor of the PCE use as existing, so that sort of leads me to believe it's legalization. I'd like the applicant to show compliance with the conditions of the prior grant. For instance, what is the fire alarm and sprinkler status? Show that they should show proof of the sprinkler installation and inspections. And I didn't find a PA permit when I looked it up on this. I found applications for permits, but I never found the actual permit. So it seems like it's such a large facility, it seems like it would need a PA permit.
This is an amendment.
So there's also, there's 2 violations that are open, an ECB violation for fire alarm and an elevator violation, which should be discussed. But the more important question, which is familiar, we've had another project like this very recently, or maybe even 2. There's a portion of the site that's in an R8. And all the BSA resolutions, the early ones don't refer to the R8 at all. And then the latest one in 2006 says specifically that the PCE is in the C4 portion and not in the R8. So now you look at the drawings and you see lockers and showers. That's clearly accessory to the PCE, if nothing else, right? So I don't know what we're supposed to do about that. BSA doesn't have authority to grant a PCE in an R8.
Can't do it.
So that seems like it's an existing condition, because that's not where the proposed expansion is. So applicant, please address this, very odd.
There is also a roof deck on top of that portion.
Is there a roof deck?
Yeah,
That couldn't,
that I believe is accessed by the PCE.
the dual
also
mirror,
in the
okay.
R8.
so you went to the site and you saw?
No, I was just looking at the plans. The
You saw a
plans
roof
show-
deck? Oh, I didn't see a
Yeah, a
roof
roof deck with access onto that portion that's in the R8.
But also, there seem to be a lot of sports-related businesses associated with that address. I mean, I just Googled the address and came up with Equinox Sports Physical Therapy of New York and Soul Cycle.
There is a Soul
Cycle
Cycle.
came to us.
They came to
But
us,
we didn't grant them a special
yes,
permit.
because they were going to be located in the R8.
A portion of the
So
area.
they
Yeah.
list themselves as being there. And so I'm just
They
wondering.
are there. If you
Soul
go to the
Cycle?
site, Soul Cycle is there.
On
So
the
I
other
don't
side
know
of
if
where
they're in the
Equinox is
R8,
supposed to be.
but they're
Well,
on
they're to the left
the
of-
southern portion of the building,
Yeah, to the left.
which is
to the
where the
left of
R8
the-
is in the rear.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they extend all the way to the rear,
They're
because I didn't
there.
go in the building and walk all the way back, but they are up and open.
They're
for
there,
business.
so is a couple of the other sports-related businesses. So just wondering,
Just saying.
just saying. The whole building.
The other thing is their drawings don't have any notes regarding the fire alarm system.
Right.
And this is from a long time ago. I don't know if they have a fire alarm system, but since they're doing like an almost 10,000 square foot enlargement, they should install one.
Yes. Okay.
Things that make you go,
Yeah. Yes, if you operate without a permit, make sure you're operating without a permit in a district for which a permit is available.
really.
Okay.
Appeals calendar, decision items, item number 8, 271-14A through 282-14A, Patricia Court and Herbert Court received the fire department sign-off review of the additional plan.
Yeah, but what they didn't show on the BSA drawings is the areas to be kept unobstructed for the fire department. They show it on the fire department drawing. So what I'm thinking is we could include the fire department drawing with the approved set.
Okay.
And that way it's clear that that needs to be kept clear because they use a different.
I'll look at that
Yeah,
plan again.
it would be too hard to show it. The code is kind of confusing, like the overlays. And then I would say there were a whole bunch of restrictions that were requested, so we could grant on condition, because the homeowner's covenant was supposed to have been amended, so we could grant on condition that the homeowner's covenant is amended with a specific statement about, for example, it's a list of things. It's private access roads will have unobstructed width of not less than 34 feet. Areas shown on the plans are to remain clear of all parking. All homes to be provided with interconnected smoke alarms and fully sprinklered. Area in front of the fire hydrants to be marked 8 feet from the curb with no parking sign. The work to comply with the DEC approved plans. All of that would have been great if we could have gotten it on the drawings fast enough, but if we can't, then that could be in the condition.
The FDNY plans, they need to sort of run with the BSA plans. So can we amend the BSA plans to include the fire department plans?
Well, they're already submitted.
Right, but so
We,
can they can be resubmitted and incorporated as a single document?
oh, is that how it has to be done?
Well, I'd prefer to have something sort of on our radar, right? So so that the BSA plans actually reflect the requirements. And we can't do that. And the fire department plan should at least be, incorporated formally into our set.
We can't just do that by merging a PDF? I don't know. I don't know the technical part.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Okay. Okay. I'm thinking even the Ds, we can refer to the DEC approved plans in the conditions, but we could also include them in the record set. I mean, that would be the cleanest. Then the DOB knows exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about a BSA approved set, then it should have fire department and DEC in the package of BSA drawing.
But are we stamping them approved? Well, we'll talk about that.
Sorry?
Are we stamping them approved? We're just stamping approved our site plan.
Maybe we have I don't know.
We'll talk.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk. Okay.
I see what the issue is, but there's sort of an addendum
I think we may
or
just ask the
something.
applicant to resubmit the plans with reflecting what's on the fire department plans.
Let me just
And
check
also
the plan.
DEC, and maybe a note that the DEC drawings have to be compliant with.
Rather than have three sets of
Let me check
plans.
the plan.
Yeah,
Let me check the site plan.
yeah.
Check the site.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Item number 9, 3715A, 2020 Demarest Road, Queens.
Okay, we did receive the DEP sign-off in kind of photo finish time.
I asked the applicant to make some changes, and he submitted late Friday a revised statement of facts, a zoning analysis, and a plan that says it's sprinklered, something about the side yards, and that he is complying with Appendix G, and a couple of other little things.
Okay.
I don't know, I emailed it to the commissioners this morning. We
just got it.
I don't know if they
Yeah,
had
we
enough
just
time
got,
to
I
look at it.
couldn't open it.
Yeah,
fast,
unfortunately.
yeah.
I didn't realize it wasn't uploaded.
So we'll take a look and discuss tomorrow if necessary, but I did want to say that the approval should be conditional with respect to the side yard, because there is, the side yards are less than the required 5 feet, and it says a replacement of the existing building, and so that's really a DOB call about whether that's considered a replacement, whether that qualifies for the automatic sort of grandfathering of the non-complying side yards, and that's not what we're being asked to waive.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Continued hearings, item number 10, 300-08A, 3935 27th Street, Queens. We received a late submission, site safety plans, lift of a stop work order that was issued on July 25th, some violations, and a statement from the architect contractor.
And That's
Hoist
that's
plans?
this pile of these, yeah.
I didn't see that.
It was
Because they're
uploaded.
only in hard copy, and they were just loaded,
They should have been, they were uploaded. It says
they were
update.
uploaded Friday or something.
If
But
you
it's a
look
big
at,
file.
Didn't get to,
if you look at, all right, SharePoint, it says
Right.
update.
didn't get to Dropbox, so I didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
Okay, it was,
So
it's in there.
I looked at it quickly. So what's going on is, they're making progress. Now they do have a site safety report, and I think that was approved by DOB. And however, they have a lot of work to do to get to a place where the site is stable enough for us to be able to say, okay, proceed. So they still haven't started doing any work on the neighbors, though they're working with the neighbor's engineer apparently. But really, until the site becomes really a safe site, I don't see how we can have them proceed per usual. So they're making progress. They keep, of course, changing their experts, so it's,
A new contractor now.
yeah, right. So it's an ongoing process. Okay.
Item number 11, 16314A through 16514A, Canal Street, Manhattan.
Okay, I understand there was a DOB inspection there on Wednesday.
I haven't received a copy of the report as of
Right.
yet. Hopefully
And
we'll have it by tomorrow.
if you go on BIS, you don't see any signs of a complaint or a inspection report or anything, so it seems like there would be a violation issued for illegal occupancy. So I don't really understand what's going on. With respect to the submission, because the subject of this waterproofing now in a building that's occupied is very concerning to me. There's a letter from a new architect. The last architect is no longer on the job. I'm not sure exactly about who owns those drawings, because that whole set of drawings was filed by that architect. I don't know if this architect can actually
Assume the
assume
responsibility.
them or what. So, because they're going to have to be submitted to DOB and signed and sealed, et cetera. So, well, this new architect provided a letter, and the letter says that some work was done, but the way it was phrased in terms of being in the future tense, it sounds clear that the sump pumps and what he describes as the Tyvek air and water barriers have not yet been installed. With respect to these kind of waterproofing methods, one of them for the cellar is a cementitious concrete water barrier. A cementitious concrete parging is not a water barrier. It's used kind of like, instead of pointing, it's not intended to keep floods out. It's intended to kind of in the course of rain, in a normal raining situation, to prevent the water from leaching into the brick or into the concrete. So that is definitely not what we were talking about in terms of waterproofing. In addition to which, I want to add that this is a historic property, and so the Landmarks Commission is very strict about the materials that are used that adhere to masonry. The other thing that was proposed was the installation of dense glass and the Tyvek air and water barrier. Dense glass is really just gypsum sheathing that has fiberglass in it. That's not a waterproofing shield. It reduces mold. That's its main purpose. And the Tyvek air and water barrier is basically plastic. So I don't know whether this combination of things has the amount of water protection, flood protection that is needed here, because what we're talking about is the crawl space will fill with water in the event of a flood. And it will keep growing until it hits the design flood elevation, or if we were very unlucky, higher than that, right? So the whole point of this was to hold back the water and send it someplace else. I don't know where it was going to go, but send it someplace else. And so far, I don't see any details that indicate that. I think, frankly, this is a specialty type of issue, and especially dealing with a historic property. So I'm going to have to insist that rather than this new architect who we don't know anything about, whereas the last architect was, you could see he really, really researched the issues. he went back and he looked carefully at how to respond to our questions. This one, I don't know anything about his or her skills. No, Adrian, his skills. So I would say that, and because we're talking about really bad actors here who are occupying illegally, I'd have to insist that a historic preservation and waterproof specialist be brought into this so that and that LPC sign off on the waterproofing method. The other thing is they submitted photos of the cellar, which I don't know what they're supposed to be showing us, because it was like the insulation was hanging and seemed like it was falling. It was
looked like
raining.
that insulation,
Yeah.
which is like, you wouldn't put that in
Down
this
there.
situation.
No, and it looked like it was falling while the photograph was being taken. And in addition to which, they were really unreadable, except that you could get the sense of the snowstorm. So I'm not sure what they were supposed to be showing us, but it was very clear to me that that's an unfinished space that has not been waterproofed. And then with respect to the plastic sheeting and all that stuff, I don't know whether that was already installed, but the claim on the drawing or in the letter is that Tyvek is going to go all the way up to the top of the building, whereas in the drawing it just shows it going up to the design flood elevation. So get your act together, people, because this is very serious. Oh yes, the floodgates. We discussed the storage of the floodgates ad nauseum. And now, having reviewed all the materials, I don't see one mention of where they're going to be stored. And we were clear that they had to be stored within a very short distance, like across the street of the site. And now they're not mentioned in the restrictive declaration, they're not mentioned in anything on the drawings. The only thing that we do see storage of is the flood shields. The shields are stored on site, and they show you that.
But didn't they say they were also going to be up to testing in August of these shields? Didn't they say last time that by August they would have tested it and come back to us with a report that it worked? That's what I have down as a note, that we should
Okay.
look for August testing.
Right, yeah, I'd like
They were
to
gonna
know
do
when
an
they were going
installation.
to test
Right,
them.
yeah.
Right.
So-
And also, it wasn't clear to me whether they were going to actually physically
Install.
secure them to the sidewalk, and then, who's going to purchase those bolts?
Right.
And they should be stored in advance, and,
Exactly.
Okay.
And did they receive landmark approval to bolt it into the building?
Oh, yeah,
Right.
they needed to go.
I wasn't sure that they were going for the bolting into the building.
I don't
believe
see
the
how they
architect-
can't.
I think the architect represented that the bolts would not be on the facade. We can ask tomorrow for clarification, but I believe it would not be affixed to the facade, but they were intending to purchase the shields before the next hearing. And I believe that's something that.
Purchase,
Right.
but we thought
Purchase
that
and
they
Purchase
were
with a
also.
hope to test.
Yeah, and to test. Okay.
So we can inquire.
And then, again, so the storage of them has to be on the documents, and we have to know that it's very, very close. It can't be in New Jersey, which was actually one of the proposals at one point. With respect to the notice to tenant, and some of these other things which council will work with their council, there should be information in the notice to tenant about the $25,000 being stored in escrow to cover damage not covered by insurance. And also, they gave us certified mail receipts. Having worked in a law firm, I know that you get a certified mail receipt from the clerk in the law firm. That does not mean that it went to the post office. So I don't understand how it's not stamped with a post office stamp. It's just something that the clerk fills out, and that's it. And so if you're really going to prove to us that the tenants were notified, I don't understand why you wouldn't have asked for a return receipt requested. So I would say that notice was not persuasive to me. There's like no proof of mailing effectively,
Perhaps an affidavit from council, or would you?
if he personally deposited it in the
Yeah,
mailbox.
we'll inquire.
I'm not sure, because you would think in something this serious, you'd want to see that the tenants received it. And if they're away on holiday or whatever it is, that it sat in their mailbox for a long time, and then eventually they sign it and they send it back. So I'd say no, not an affidavit. Because boy, if I were a tenant, I'd be incredibly upset to receive that. So I'd expect, and also I'm thinking the tenants should be advised that we have these hearings, and they should come here and speak to it.
Okay.
Anybody else?
In terms of Appendix G, there were, Section G 304, there's 5 conditions that the residential spaces have to comply with. And they said they were going to meet 3 of them and not meet 2 of them. And the one of them, they said they were going to meet, they're obviously not going to meet, which has to do with enclosures below the design flood elevation shall be usable solely for crawl space. And part of the first floor is below the
Yeah.
design flood elevation, so that's an error.
Incorrect, okay, right. Anything else?
I thought the map was pretty poor.
Terrible. Yeah, I agree.
You know, you can do better than just copying something from Google. You know, you can't read the streets very well. It's
Right,
really not adequate to me.
yeah. Especially if it's people who are living there who are not that familiar with the neighborhood, if they're new to town.
Yeah, I was thinking of Airbnb tenants.
Yes, there you go. Which is another thing, Airbnb tenants, it's actually an interesting point, because they will not be briefed, right? So how do you alert visitors? That's something, yeah.
The lease may preclude Airbnb. Yes, we can.
Really, that's worked really well on all the, what's the number, 40,000 Airbnb sites in New York?
Yeah, it's a problem.
Okay,
Move on?
New cases, item number 12, 297-12A, 28-18/20 Astoria Boulevard, Queens.
okay.
No, there's issues with this one.
I just observed that their request for extension is only for 1 year, because they're nearly done. There are no violations as of the 15th of July. I think I even looked up to see if there were any later ones. The site looks clean. They have a valid permit. I thought this was refreshingly good-looking.
I had nothing to say.
Anybody else?
Yeah, they should just update their serious loss numbers and incorporate it into the statement.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay.
Item number 13, 9115A, 55 Englewood Avenue, Staten Island. I asked the applicant to make some revisions, which came in on Friday, and I don't know if anybody's,
Yeah.
I emailed them to people, so.
Yeah, I saw it today.
Zoning analysis, statement of facts, plan.
And that we even have the fire department drawing stamped approved, that's good. And so with all of that, we've seen a number of these with these kind of interesting little contractor boxes. My comment is the same as it was for the last one, where there's this odd loading dock, and I don't actually understand how a truck gets in there unless it's a Dymaxion truck that parks horizontally. So I just would want to have have a condition that DOT approve the loading dock location and configuration. I don't think we got fire department sign off, though. Oh, we did, sorry, we did, sorry.
yes.
That's an old note, yeah, we just got that, the approved sign off.
They just want them to sprinkle the buildings.
Yeah.
No
And they
parking
had a
signs.
hydrant and reduce the number of bays. They had to reduce it from 11 to 9.
Which they did.
They did.
Yeah.
And there was also a condition that they do a fire alarm box review in the area. and add no parking signs.
Right, which they have on the drawings.
Yeah, they did it.
Because they increase the size of the turnaround and all that, you know. And, right. Okay.
Zoning calendar decision items, item number 14, 22213BZ, 2472 Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay, they did make the changes to the drawings that we requested, including the landscaping and nice-looking fencing. So my only comment really, which would be part of the grant condition, would be, there's a note on the first floor plan where the rental cars are located that says unlimited automobile rental storage carpool 9 cars. I don't understand any of that, but that's not our domain. So I would just say that to have a note that DOB shall verify that that complies with zoning or code, whatever. Because the comment about unlimited automobile rental storage, I don't really know how they regulate the number of cars you can be renting at a time in a site.
So it's a condition.
Okay? Anybody else?
Item number 15, 6414BZ, 1320 East 23rd Street, Brooklyn.
Okay, so I think the only thing we asked them to do was to provide the axonometric with the envelope, which they did do. And so I think we're finished. Anybody else? Okay.
Item number 16, 24414BZ, 22 West 32nd Street, Manhattan.
I have to say, this one, I was very impressed with the analysis. So keep up that quality of work and life will be so much easier here. So it was very thorough and I thought it was very persuasive with lots and lots of background and support on why the PCE is a PCE despite the fact that the baths and sauna areas exceed the massage and yoga area in size. So, which was what was giving me pause, and rather than just say, you know, you did it on the other ones, there was a really, really careful analysis. I thought it was excellent. Anybody else?
Well done.
So thank you.
Item number 17, 18-15BZ, 95th Avenue, Manhattan.
They added the notes to the drawings on sprinklers, sound limiters, and that flooring material and why it's installed. So I think they responded to all the issues. Anybody else?
Item number 18, 5515BZ, 405 West 55th Street, Manhattan.
Okay. They submitted quite a extensive response. And I would just say that the main issue really seemed to be, or two main issues that were sort of still outstanding, which had to do with the parking during the drop-off period. And I believe it was Sam Schwartz's office that did a parking analysis in the summertime, so it can't be really reflective of how bad it is. But what they observed was that during the weekdays, when there's no parking allowed there wasn't double parking. But on the weekends where parking is allowed, there is. So I would say if we can do that, we condition approval on the applicant at least requesting from DOT that that area become a no parking zone during weekend school hours. And then also the other concern we had was about noise from the music. They provided a letter from the architect talking about mitigation levels. So I think that should be part of the condition, that they maintain an STC rating of 35 to reduce sound that's generated from within the building. But it also, of course, helps the students because you're performers, you need to have quiet on the inside, so it's working both ways. Anybody else?
Item number 19, 6115BZ, 540 West 26th Street, Manhattan.
Okay. So they did provide detailed responses to our comments at the hearing, and we Langen submitted an extensive response to DOT's comments, and I understand that also DOT sent some response or a sign-off, but then there was a revision to the EAS that's very extensive that we just got. And also, there was some discussion by Langen, some discussion by Langen in response to our concerns about students being on the sidewalk and traveling between these buildings all the time, and how it's really not a problem because they're older kids, and I'm kind of uncomfortable with deciding whether that's a problem or not, so I'd like DOT to look at that response as well. So I think with respect to this one, I'd like to defer decision until we have a chance to review the EAS, which was just submitted, and for DOT to take a quick look at the question of the children as pedestrians going back and forth between the schools. Anybody else? Sounds reasonable. Okay.
Continued hearing items. Item number 20, 14814BZ, 11 Avenue A, Manhattan.
1 second. That one they asked to adjourn.
It's the third adjournment.
Item number 21, 20414BZ, 55 Wythe Avenue, Brooklyn.
And they also requested an adjournment, third adjournment.
Item number 22, 27014BZ, 209 East 92nd Street, Manhattan. They requested an adjournment.
Adjournment as well.
New cases. Item number 1, 1915BZ, 9277 Queens Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, that one, we received fire department comments. I think they got this site confused with another one the first go-around, so it's a building under construction, so it can't be a legalization. We need the DOI. I saw that. Did we receive DOI? Because I saw that you had requested, Rory. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so we still need DOI. But my question is, so this is a building where there's hotel use directly above a gym, so that's effectively the same as bedrooms, right? So people sleeping while they're thumping. So I'd like information on the proposed acoustical separation, including sound limiters on the music and the construction methods.
Do guests in the hotel use this facility, or is that anticipated, or? I just was wondering whether it was associated with the hotel as well.
No, it's Retro Fitness is a big chain,
Yeah.
so I'm sure the guests get a discount or something like that.
Free weights too. But
Yeah.
my question had to do with, I guess it's a through lot, and they only show signage on the street to the rear, which I guess is 93rd Street, not on Queens Boulevard, which was a little strange to me. Just wanted to clarify that they're not going to have signage on Queens Boulevard.
Okay. Okay.
Item number 2, 2915BZ, 200-204 East 61st Street, Manhattan.
This one is a legalization. They began operation in January of this year. The spin studio, so again, usually they have some kind of isolation system. The fire department requested, as we've been doing consistently for a few months at least, is that they provide documentation that the fire department has signed off on the sprinklers and the fire alarm system, so we need that. They provided drawings that sort of seem to indicate that there's a double thickness on the walls around the spin studio, but there's no actual written information about it, so that's just an assumption. They provided photographs of guys installing the platforms on which the bicycles sit, because they use sort of this raked setup, so the guys in the back can see the instructor in the front. But if anything, for me, I didn't see that as an acoustical separation. I saw that as a source of noise, because you're on a raised platform and it's hollow, and they didn't show that it was insulated or sits on anything. So I'd like to see what their isolation methods are. Also, strangely, there appears to be only one means of egress from the cellar. This is in this, I think they said it's the sub-cellar. Yeah. So I know it's just a part plan, but that is probably a bad thing because it's a part plan that doesn't show you maybe another route of egress. But when you look at the occupancy in the cellar, the spin studio has, 47 spaces. There's another studio that has 11 spaces, and the lobby has like room for 50 people. So that exceeds the 75 persons. And I live across the street from a Soul Cycle, and between classes, the lobby is packed. So because the classes are filled, there's kind of no place for the people to change. So you could easily have that occupancy in one of these things. Also, they provided photos of the fire safety systems, but that's not enough for us to determine whether they've been signed off. Anybody else?
I too had questions about the egress. I also, they give us explanation or sort of notes on the STC ratings for I guess they're trying to isolate certain spaces, but again, they don't really show us how the plan comports with what their notations are. So if they can give us more explanation about how that space is actually separated, that would be great. Also, they have one dedicated elevator, I guess, and I see that they've got some elevator violations, and I'm wondering if they have a violation on that device, and if they do, they need to get that cleared to be able to utilize the elevator.
Okay. Oops. Okay, great. Thank you.
This concludes the public review session for August 24th, 2014.